Good morning, students. So many of you have been asking me that how to attempt all those chronological questions and how to prepare those questions, how to remember the dates and years for the upcoming UGC-NET English Literature examination. Tragedy is that even after mugging up a lot of years, even after mugging up a lot of years of the important dates, important events, important authors, important works, you are still unable to figure out the right answers in the options. The question is where we are missing. Even after preparing so much, even after memorizing so many years, still we are unable to get the right answers in the examination. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some important points that is going to help you to learn the chronological the right way so that you can be able to get more questions right in the upcoming examination. But before beginning this video, if you are someone who is preparing for English Literature UGC-NET examination or GATE examination, then you can simply check out our study material on both paper 1 and paper 2 from our official website limitlessliterature.com. You can check the link in the description below to know more about our organized study material on both the papers. Now without any further delay, let's begin this video. So the very first thing to understand here is that human mind is not so much capable enough to retain this large chunk of information. You can cram the years, you can memorize the years, but at the end they are going to ask those questions that you will never be able to get the right options in the examination. So the very first thing to understand is that UGC-NET is much more about concepts rather than about memorization. You can learn the years of British literature, but you cannot learn the years of all the literature. You cannot learn the years of American literature. There was a question from chronology of American literature, then there was a question of chronology from Margaret Atwood's novel, and then there is a question from the chronology of Indian literature. You cannot go on memorizing the summaries, memorizing the chronology of all the subjects. For instance, there was a question in the last UGC-NET examination in the evening shift. What they did was they gave the 4 authors, they gave the 4 works, and they asked to put them in the chronological publication according to the date of publication. So the very first writer in these 4 options was Edmund Spenser, and then the second one was the Chile-born writer Pablo Neruda, and then the third option was from another literature, French literature, Jean Baudrillard. He was also there. He was also there in this 4 options. So now what they are doing is they are clubbing 2 literatures together. They are asking the chronology not from one literature, they are clubbing 2-3 literature together and putting them into the 4 options. Now all those years which you have prepared in your notebook, that you have written down all the events, all the important dates and all the important years, that is of no use now. All those mugging up of years is of no use when you are confronted with such type of questions in the examination. And that is one of the reasons why I always suggest you to analyze the previous year questions and try to understand the psychology and try to understand the type of questions they are asking. I have been giving this examination for so long, and I can conclude one thing, and that is that they are not asking the chronology, but they are asking that how good you are at connecting the dots. I can tell you that you have to study English literature in a scientific way. Whenever you read something in English literature, whenever there is a work, there is a writer, whenever there is an event, you must be able to ask the questions why. Why these things are happening in the history, why this writer is publishing this work, why this poet is writing this poetry. Consider the whole English literature as a story itself. For instance, you must have remembered about Tatler, the magazine Tatler, which was published in 1709. You don't have to remember the year 1709, 1709, 1709. You don't have to mug up the dates and years of these magazines like this. What you have to do is you have to form the association. For instance, Tatler was published in 1709, and what happened was after 2 years Spectator was published in 1711. Why Spectator is published? Why? The thing why, scientific explanation must be there. You must always be able to ask the question why. Why 1711 Spectator was published? Just because the Tatler 1709 was first experiment. And why these 2 magazines are getting published? Because that is the age of reason. And in the age of reason, what the poets were used to do is they are trying to explain how to think. So Richard Steele and Joseph Edison both were trying to tell the people how to think through their magazines. They were from the Kit Kat Club. And from the Kit Kat Club, there was another club which was against the Kit Kat Club, that is Scribbler's Club. Scribbler's Club was founded by Jonathan Swift in 1714, and in that Scribbler's Club we have the popular writer Alexander Pope, who published essays on criticism in 1711, and again after a couple of years, after 2 years, he published Rape of Lock in 1713. So there is a reason behind all these years. You have to understand the why behind these years rather than simply mugging up the years. You must be able to associate one topic from another. You must be able to associate one age with the another, one subject with another. For instance, the transcendentalism of America was inspired by Romanticism of British literature. And then Romanticism of British literature was inspired by Immanuel Kant's theory. Yes, Immanuel Kant was, you can say, a German philosopher. So you must be able to you must be able to associate one subject from another subject. Again, then you have stream of consciousness in modernism. What is stream of consciousness in modernism? It is that Virginia Woolf and T.S. Eliot much more developed this artistic style from Henry James, who was an American author. And this Henry James took this concept of stream of consciousness from George Eliot's work, Adam Bede, or you can say Middlemarch, concept of stream of consciousness from Principle of Psychology, which was published in 1890. 1890, William James published Principles of Psychology. He talked about emotions, he talked about habits, he talked about stream of consciousness. And in 1890, when this work, Principles of Psychology, was published, after 1890, in 1900, Sigmund Freud published Psychoanalysis, or you can say Interpretation of Dreams. And in 1900, when he published this Interpretation of Dreams, in the age of modernism began. And what happened is that he discovered the unconscious mind, and it created a lot of confusion. Already the scramble for Africa was going on, and then the railroad were expanding, and you can say the new writers were coming. The American literature were doing experiments with different genres. All the countries were in the disagreements, and it led into 1913-1914 World War I. And in Indian literature, Rabindranath Tagore was awarded Nobel Prize in 1913. And after 10 years, W.B. Yeats. And after 2 years, George Bernard Shaw. You have to make this English literature in a storytelling form. The thing that I feel the most is that many, you can say, I don't want to say, but the mock tests are not useful. The mock tests which are provided to you are not useful. They are simply asking the dates. They are simply asking you to tell the year. That is not what UGC-NET is expecting. That is not what they are putting into the examination. The overall understanding, literature, English literature itself is a discourse in itself. Itself has a lot of things to understand. There was a question from Ottoman Empire. There was a question from a Romanian writer. And then what is World War II, French Revolution, American Revolution, Boston Tea Party. All those things you must be able to understand if you want to make the chronological questions right in the examination. Try to build the connections and try to associate one age from another age, so that you don't even have to learn, you don't have to mug up the chronology, you don't have to mug up the years. We all know a lot of basic things. They are not going to ask you the basic things. There was a question from language and linguistics. What they did was they gave you the 4 works of Noam Chomsky, and they asked you to put the publication in the order, in the ascending order, which publication came first. Yes, it was a difficult question, and no one can expect such kind of questions in the examination, and that is also something impossible for a teacher also to get those questions right. But every previous year question has a story to tell. Why they put this type of question in the examination? Because They want to make this subject, the quality, the status of English literature in India to a good level. They want the people, they want the student to study more, to understand more, to love more. So you need to understand that not all the chronological questions can be solved. They are simply there so that they can tell the difficulty level to the students who are going to prepare for the next examination, and they are also not expecting you to score 100 out of 100. 53, 54%, 55% is the margin of safety. If you are able to secure this much of percentage, then you will qualify the NET examination. And try to build the association, try to understand why these are writing, what is the speciality of the writer, why T.S. Eliot is so much famous, why we are studying these writers. They have done something, that is why they are in the syllabus. They have written some work, they have improved the language English, they have flourished the language English, that is why they are in the subject. Alright, so this is what all I have to share in this video. I hope you found the video worth your time. If you are new to this channel, then don't forget to subscribe the channel for more updates on English literature. That is it for this video. Thank you.